It is the year 2472, and the Earth has suffered a great calamity. Hundreds of years of popular culture have vanished. Without the sacred films and texts for guidance, civilization is devoid of anything cool. Then, 3 incubation chambers are unearthed, and from within, men from the time of the great blockbusters emerge. Now, through highly interesting conversations, they share invaluable insight about what once was. The movies, the shows, the comics, toys, and books. This is
The Hyperspace.
Podcasting in the 25th century.
Welcome in, podcast pioneers, to the Hyperspace, podcasting in the 25th century, the Interweb's first and only podcast. My name is Matt.
I'm Jared.
And I'm Space Mike.
Well, let me tell you, Space Mike and Jared, there are some things that are better left in the past. Some things that were better left lost.
Yes.
In the pop culture cataclysm.
Yeah, this one it was okay if it went away forever, but it didn't. It survived somehow.
I kind of disagree with you guys. I think this one's special.
That's one word for it.
And what are we talking about?
I don't know.
Retroactive Rewind Review.
Okay, Retroactive Rewind Review. Okay.
So what that means, folks, is today we fell on that sword so you wouldn't have to. We picked a movie that none of us, or should I say most of us, had never seen or heard about. And we watched it, and we're going to review it for you. And I have to tell you, this may be the worst movie I've ever watched in my life.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad.
Oh,
That doesn't even begin to describe it.
I think it has a charm to it.
I wish I could roar like a lion right now.
I'll explain. Further.
You know what? This has as much charm as an old Hess bathroom in a dirty gas station.
I don't know. We'll dig deep further. Do we want to tell them what it is now? Well, I guess we'll already know.
No. I think we hold off. We've got a lot to do before we get to this. In fact, I'd like to stall out as long as I can, to be honest.
Okay. Well, it's not like they haven't seen the title on the...
Yeah, but by speaking it out loud, we acknowledge it.
Are you
Okay.
afraid, like, if you say it 3 times, ittle summon it?
It's going to make me watch it again.
It's going to take over your laptop and just start playing.
Star Child.
God.
Okay.
All I say, it involves Kiss, which is bad enough.
All right.
Before we delve into that cesspool, I think we should get a little bit random first.
Okay.
Random Access Memory.
All right, on today's Random Access Memory segment, it's not going to be so random because it does sort of tie in to our Retroactive Rewind review that we'll be discussing in a little while. That particular film that we're going to talk about takes place in a theme park. And guys, what I'd like to know from you, both of you, in various times of your lives, have lived in Central Florida, which is the theme park capital of the universe. What are your favorite theme park attractions? What's your favorite all time?
I can name mine, no doubt, like right
Well,
off the top of my head.
Mike, go ahead.
The funnest ride I ever went on was the Spider-Man ride from Universal. And the first time I ever rode it was I was actually visiting Jared when I was living in Nashville, and Jared had moved to St. Pete, and he took me to Universal. And the Spider-Man ride, I mean, we went there like at the perfect time. It was like in December. There was like hardly anyone there. And we were literally like getting off this thing and getting right back in line to go ride it again. And I still think it's just amazing. It's like you're really in the middle of what's going on because it has the 3D. I haven't seen the updated graphics, which I'm sure is pretty cool. But no, the Spider-Man ride is definitely my favorite ride of all time.
Hey, Mike, do you remember the very first ride you ever went on in like any kind of amusement park?
No, I don't. I don't know. It was probably at like the crappy county Tennessee Valley Fair in Knoxville, which I'm probably lucky to still be alive after riding it. But no, I don't. I don't remember.
Well, Spider-Man, you kind of took my. I have a runner-up, of course, but Spider-Man was my top as well. I think the mixture, you can't really. It's hard to really define what it is the first time you ride it. It kind of, I thought it was a roller coaster. I mean, before, this was the first time I rode it was 2001, and that's before you could watch YouTube videos of any ride ever ridden on the computer. So I really didn't know what it was, and riding that thing for the first time was like kind of mind blowing, because you're in a ride, you're looking at screens, but you're actually the ride vehicle is moving, so it's not really a simulator all the way. It was a sort of a ride / simulator, and it was really awesome.
Yeah, like when you're falling and Spider-Man
it feels like,
uses his web to like stop you from hitting.
Yeah, it feels like you're falling.
And whenever he jumps on the ride, the ride it jostles like it's like weight has just landed on it.
Yes. Yeah, it was really well done. And I also haven't ridden the updated version. I haven't been to Universal in quite some years, but I remember we took my daughter on it when she was way too young to be on it, and she was in a catatonic state after the ride was finished. I was really excited to see how she'd react, and she was just like completely shell-shocked.
Way to go, Dad.
Yeah, I know. I mean, she was way too young to be. She was tall enough, but she was not ready.
Oh, we've all done that. We've all taken our kids on
Yes.
something they shouldn't have been on.
I did that to my son at Walt Disney World.
What did you take him on?
It was called the Barnstormer, kind of like towards the back of the park.
Yeah, the goofy roller coaster.
Yeah, and it's not like it's a crazy roller coaster, but for like a little kid, it's pretty quick on some of the turns, and he was pale as a ghost after. He was clinging to me like for dear life. But I felt bad. I actually was lucky enough to get the entire ride with his face on my phone, so I have that forever.
That's awesome.
We took the boys into that Stitch thing they have at Disney.
Yes.
Where you go on the thing and he escapes and he's running around shaking your chair. Like you don't see him.
Belches in your face.
Oh, dear man, the boys were just not having it, man. They were like, and you can't stop it. So you're just like,
no, you
just close your eyes.
And that doesn't help because it's totally dark anyway. You can't even cover your ears up because your arms are secured to your side. Man.
So that was.
Well, Matt, what ride sticks with you?
I've always been a roller coaster kid. I remember the very first memory of a roller coaster. I was at Great America, Six Flags in New Jersey as a kid, riding Rolling Thunder, which is this old wooden roller coaster. It might still be there, I don't know. But, I spent a lot of time growing up on the west coast of Florida. And Busch Gardens was kind of always in my backyard. And Busch Gardens had tons of roller coasters. And the Montu, which is there to this day, is still my favorite roller coaster. I love the Montu. It's just one of those suspension coasters. It's smooth and fast and a lot of great turns. But, when I think about it now, there's so many runner-ups. Like the Rockin' Roller Coaster I really love over in Orlando. Mm-hmm. But, I think the one I'm going to talk about, and Jared, you, myself, and our friend Mike, whom we've mentioned on this podcast before, is Sith Lord.
Yes.
We went to Epcot in Orlando, where we went to, what's it called? The Mars Experience? What is it?
The Mission Space.
Yeah. And so this is a really unique, fun ride where you get into a big centrifuge and you look straight ahead and you actually are in a rocket that takes off from the Earth and goes to Mars. And it's really a fantastic ride. And in a centrifuge, you feel a lot of G-force and the way they spin it up and slow it down. You really feel like you're entering space and launching. So the funny thing is, Jared, Mike, and myself get in this ride. And before we get in, Mike tells us, he looks over, he's like, just so you know, I get really bad motion sickness. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. So we get in, and the way you get it, you sit, you put your harness on, and you look straight ahead into the screen. And you have like some like little fidgety controls in front of you, which I don't know if they did anything or not, but you can play with them as you go. Pretend you're an astronaut. And the screen in front of you shows you the entire ride. And then, of course, the centrifuge is moving the entire time, which you don't notice. And you never feel like you're spinning. You just feel the G-force. Mm-hmm. Now, that is if you look straight ahead. If at any moment you look to the left or right, you notice that you're spinning because your brain tells you you're spinning, even though you don't see that you're spinning. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a trippy thing when you start to look left and right. So Mike's sitting to my right, and I look over at Mike, and Mike looks at me, and all of a sudden, his eyes almost roll to the back of his head. He turns as green as the Hulk, and I think he's going to throw up on me. And I'm thinking to myself, the only thought is, which way are we spinning? Because if he throws up, I'm like, am I going to get hit?
Man, if somebody puked in that cabin when it was spinning.
I legitimately thought, I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know if I'm going in the right direction here. But I pointed for Mike to face forward, and he recovered himself and dragged his half-dead carcass out of that ride after. But that's a fun ride. It's a unique ride, so that kind of sticks out.
It also killed a couple people, didn't it?
They had a heart attack.
Yeah.
I don't mean to laugh.
Yeah.
A few people had heart attacks in this ride.
Yeah, they did.
But to be fair, I think one of them had a pacemaker, and I don't think you should go on those rides anyway.
They determined that they had pre-existing conditions, but that they should not have been riding it. But
yeah,
it does have. It's the only ride I've ever been on that has actual air sickness bags.
I don't know how you'd use those things. Let me tell you.
No,
There's
you
way.
couldn't get to them. It would just that vomit in that cabin would just plaster to the walls and spread.
It's like a gravitron. If someone threw up in a gravitron at a county fair, it's like free. It's like good luck. But that was a fun ride. But that kind of sticks in my head as a unique experience. But yeah, roller coasters. I'm a big, legit outdoors roller coaster kind of guy.
I like roller coasters. I hate Ferris wheels.
Oh God, I have a Ferris wheel story too.
Well, tell it. Why not? Random space. We can put off this review a little while longer.
No, it's fine. So when I was a kid, the only time I ever went to a county fair until I was in high school, I was a little kid and my parents took us to a county fair. We must have been somewhere in Ohio. And my brother, I have a twin brother, my brother and I went up with my dad on a Ferris wheel. And, Ferris wheels will stop periodically along the trip. And we wound up at the very top and it stopped. And my brother stood up and went to the side. First off, I don't know why he's standing up. And it was a small roller coaster, or small Ferris wheel. And he goes to the side, and the door swings open.
Oh my gosh!
And he was looking down, and my dad had to grab him and pull him back in, and then slam the door shut. And my dad chewed those people out to no end when we got down.
What?
That's my very first memory of any Ferris wheel. Was my brother almost taking a dive off the county fair. Oh man! And I have to tell you, I really never ever had the desire to ever go to any county fair ever in my life, and it's probably because of that. And I still to this day don't trust those rides.
Jeez,
No.
I wouldn't either.
Wow.
I mean, I just don't ever want to be on those rides.
Well, when you get older, you definitely walk past them and you're like, wait, what?
Man, you see who's putting them together. You're like, whoa.
There's a bunch of extra bolts laying on the ground. You're like, well, wait, what? Does that go somewhere? Maybe. Man.
There's a guy who's itching his face over in the corner, and that's the guy who put it together the other night.
Hey, y'all got any more of those?
Y'all got any more of those bolts and nuts to put it together?
Yeah, it's missing some. Why you got more of those? Man.
Ugh.
Well,
yeah, no thanks. I'll pass.
Like, Mike took my, probably number one.
Number one is Twister, isn't it?
Oh, my God. We have to find... Audio must be found to the Twister pre-show of Bill Paxton and put into this segment, because that is... Well, Twister is. Oh, I can't even. I refuse to do it justice
me and
here.
Jared standing in line for that thing, and we're just crying.
The movie Twister is about one of the most primordial forces on the face of the earth. A force so powerful and so concentrated, it could rip the asphalt off a 6-lane highway and hurl a freight train hundreds of yards from its tracks, and it can even destroy an entire town. At the same time, a tornado is one of the most awe-inspiring sights one can witness in nature, full of majesty and mystery. I'm Bill Paxton. I play a storm chaser determined to confront that mystery by getting as close as possible to a raging twister.
Never Bill Paxton would talk.
He's like, it is force of nature.
Finger of God.
There's a force of nature, the destructive, full of majesty and mystery. Oh, my God, it is so bad. But anyway, regardless of that, I think one of my favorite rides ever was Back to the Future.
Oh, that was a great ride. I'm glad I got to ride that before they took it apart.
That's a great ride.
Yeah, it was, I think the first time I rode it was like 92, I guess. And it was amazing.
Well, what's really good is the stuff at the beginning with Biff before you get in the ride.
Yeah, they started telling the story like as you're waiting to get on the ride, which was kind of ingenious. And yeah, Biff was going through the place, sabotaging everything.
See you next spring.
I know, like saying his sayings wrong, like he always did.
The actors doing it too, so.
I mean, one of my favorite the guys from the movies were doing it, Christopher Lloyd and Thomas F. Wilson. And one of my favorite parts is they have a picture of Biff. They're trying to identify who Biff is, and they just happen to have a giant picture of him that they pull down on a screen. 1955 Biff holding a pipe wrench, swinging it at the camera. I'm like, okay, where'd you get that picture of Biff at? But yeah, that ride was pretty amazing. It's been replaced by the Simpsons ride now, which I've actually never ridden. But Back to the Future certainly made an impression on me when I rode it, and it was my favorite ride for years. And it stuck around until the mid-2000s, I guess.
Yeah, because I went when I finally rode it, I rode it with you.
Yes.
And that was the only time I rode it because they took it apart shortly thereafter. But I enjoyed that. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah. And it's interesting, the Blu-ray set of the Back to the Future trilogy has the ride video on it.
I need to go back and watch that. That stuff's
including all of the pre-show stuff, which is really cool with Biff and Christopher Lloyd and everything. So, but yeah, so our favorite theme park attractions, and now we get to talk about something that's no one's favorite anything.
Oh,
yeah, it's time.
We have to do it.
Just put it back to where you found it and bury it.
No, it's time for the review now.
Retroactive Rewind Review. I will destroy you, all of you. You kids will be my instrument.
Apes is more like it.
We've got to get out of here. I don't believe it! Yes, you can believe it.
And now on NBC's Saturday Night at the Movies, Kiss meets the Phantom.
Oh man, this is I don't know if this makes Zardoz look like a great film, but it just might.
Funny that you said that, because as I was watching it, I actually was thinking maybe Zardoz wasn't that bad.
Oh.
All right, so what are we talking about, Mike?
All right, so I picked the movie this week, and it is Kiss Meet the Phantom of the Park. And it was actually originally a TV movie of the night, that was released theatrically overseas. And I thought what I'd like to do before we get into it is I'd like to give it a little bit of a setup, because one thing I don't know if people really understand, and I'm not even sure if you guys do, because you guys are just a couple years younger than me.
Hold on. Before you say it, I just want to let you know, I want everyone to know that when I went into this movie, I went into it completely clean. I had no information, no research. I had no knowledge about this movie whatsoever. I went into it 100% clean. I just want to disclaim that.
All right. Well, what I wanted to do is set up why the movie was made. And if you were a child of the mid to late 70s, as I was, you will know that Kiss was a phenomenon.
You wanted the best! You got the best! The hottest band in the world! Kiss!
Even, like, no one will ever be able to grasp what Kiss was. Because, you know, they wore the makeup, they were mysterious, they were being marketing, they were making toys, but there was really something about them that was, like, they had comic books being made about them. There was posters. When I was in first grade, I remember we were on the playground and we would play Kiss. And two people were always arguing over who was going to be Gene Simmons. I was fine with being Peter Criss, so I was good to go. But I don't even know if we ever actually got to play Kiss, because I don't know if we ever got past the arguing who was going to be Gene Simmons. But my friend had a Kiss poster in his bedroom, and one of the things we played, I'm not making this up, and he came up with this, was we would go up to the poster and we would ask Kiss what mission they want us to go on.
Oh man.
Yeah, that was that was real. That really happened.
This is gold.
So it was like,
man.
it was
We
like,
would ask the poster.
Yeah,
What
I mean,
did
it's
we
like,
do?
what do we do now, Kiss? You know, and then it was like, I just remember, even I was kind of standing there like, okay, this seems a little strange, but whatever, you know. And I was not allowed to listen to Kiss. But the funny thing is Kiss was being totally marketed to our kids, but if you listen to their music and their lyrics, they should not have been marketed to kids. I mean, they had a song called Christine 16, which is pretty much about statutory rape. But
Yes.
so, and in their album covers, they had very inappropriate images on the back of their album covers. But it was the mystery, it was all image, because the fact of the matter is, and this is something I've always said about Kiss, if Kiss had been able to write good songs, they literally would have been the biggest band the planet Earth has ever seen.
If anybody's listened to one of our previous episodes, Generation Cassette, you kind of got a flavor for the kind of music that all three of us kind of like and grew up with or found and enjoy. There's a lot of music from before my time when I was, when I was young that I really enjoy now. And I have to say, Kiss is one of those bands I never got.
No, I never understood
the.
That's a lot.
I never understood the appeal. I never understood anything about that band that people worship. And I've actually met people that really love Kiss.
Oh yeah, Kiss.
And I have to tell you, after watching this movie, I have to think that if a band that I really enjoyed, like Guns N' Roses or Metallica, ever did something like this, I would have written them off in a second. I never would have listened to another thing they would ever have put out. So for Kiss to be a part of what we're about to talk about is so disgusting and shameful.
Well, that's actually that's interesting that you say that, because the thing was, I just wanted to give people sort of like an understanding of how big Kiss was. I mean, they were on a Halloween special show with Paul Lynde. It's like everyone knew who Kiss was. Like, you knew who Kiss was. But the funny thing is I can't remember ever hearing a Kiss song on the radio, and to this day you still don't hear Kiss songs on the radio because their songs aren't that good. There's like one Kiss song, there's two, Beth, which of course everyone likes Beth, and then there's another song called I Love It Loud, which I actually think is like a really cool song.
But for everyone listening, this movie, by the way, was made at the height of their popularity.
Yes, but it was also the start of their decline, because
good, it should have been,
because when when a little bit of a backstory, the band was actually starting to fracture. So this movie came out about the same time or before they released their 4 solo albums as Kiss. I don't know if there's it's a pretty iconic album covers. Each album, there's 4 of them. They released them simultaneously on the same day, and each band member's face is on the cover, and none of the other band members played on each of their. They were totally solo albums, and the albums tanked. They didn't sell, and the Kiss fans did hate this movie. And there was, I think, the next album. What was it? I can't remember. I think it was like shortly thereafter. Peter Criss left the band, but Peter Criss and Ace Frehley were having their substance abuse problems. So the band was fracturing, and this, you're like you said, it was at their peak, but it was, I would say, like at this point, it was all downhill from there. And the movie was a part of it. And when they went to them about making this movie, Paul Stanley was like, they came to us and they said this movie would be a cross between A Hard Day's Night and Star Wars.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm not sure if and so of course Paul Stanley, you know, Hard Day's Night is one of the most famous rock and roll movies ever made about a band. And then Star Wars, which was huge at the time. So they were like, okay, yeah, this sounds great. So anyway.
I think we should tell them about the movie and just get it over with.
All right. Well,
let's do it.
The movie starts with Kiss playing. Yeah, what is it? What's the song?
Is it oh gosh, is it
I want to
rock and roll all night? Is that it?
Yeah. So you see Kiss playing, and in a half dissolve behind them,
these crappy keys.
Yeah, this half dissolve behind them is an amusement park, which is like whatever. It makes
Magic
no sense
Mountain.
from the start.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Magic Mountain in California. So you see all the rides, the Ferris wheel, and it's not syncing up to any music. It makes no sense, but this is what you see. So this is how the movie introduces itself.
My favorite part too is you see Paul Stanley shoot lasers out of his eyes, and they immediately cut to another shot with a laser, and Paul Stanley's walking down the lasers.
on the
No, hold on.
laser.
That's not. No, guys. You're jumping way ahead here.
I thought that was in the opening credits. That's in the opening
that's when
credits.
Kiss, no, it's not. It's when Kiss is introduced when they first start playing. It's 40 minutes into the movie.
Oh, I thought that was the opening credits.
Yeah. And so we should note that enjoy Kiss while you can, because you won't see them again for 40 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. We don't see Kiss for 40 minutes. So here we go. So we get out of this montage open, and we're in the.
Well, they
amusement
do
park.
walk down the roller coaster. I know they do that in the opening credits. They're standing at the top. There are these giant people standing on top of a roller coaster, and the last shot of them, and they're walking down one of the sides of the roller coaster.
Yeah, it's so great. So jump ahead to where we see the daytime. The amusement park is happening. It's full of people. Everyone's having fun, and we see 2 people who are having a blast in the front of a roller coaster. It's a man. It's a boy and a girl, or a young man and a young lady. And they're just loving it, having a great time. They keep going back and forth between cut shots of crowds and then them, crowds, them. And then you see them kind of making out as they're going on the roller coaster. They're having a ball. So first off, we don't know these people's names, and we don't hear their names for 36 minutes. So these people exist, but you don't even know their names. And these are pretty major characters, and we don't hear their names for 36 minutes.
You ride the entire ride in the single shot with no edit. It's really great.
Also, apparently, one of the things people do when they're out at a music park having fun is they build human pyramids.
Everywhere, everyone's building human pyramids.
Like what?
Absolutely.
was...
These 2 characters get off the roller coaster, and they are embracing, they're laughing, they're having so much fun. And then, by the way, their names are Sam and Melissa. I'll just cut to the chase on this. All of a sudden, Melissa's like, "You have to go to work?" And Sam's like, now remember, these 2 were just having the time of their life on a roller coaster. And just as they're off the roller coaster having their time of their life, Sam all of a sudden gets real serious. He's like, I have to go. I noticed something's wrong. I have to investigate, which comes out of the blue completely. And then Sam disappears. He just disappears. So he's having all this great time, and all of a sudden he gets real serious and he's like, I saw something's wrong. I have to go. And then Sam disappears, and Melissa goes off in the amusement park where I guess maybe she lives with the crowd because she's always there. And that's how the movie kind of gets going.
Well, just a side note, Sam is played by Terry Lester, who was Jack Abbott on The Young and the Restless.
Yes,
and I
was gonna
recognize
say
him
that.
because my mom and sister loved that soap opera. So
yes, same.
I reckon.
I was like, is that young Jack?
That was when he was trying to be like a real actor.
Yeah.
And he did that. He's like, I just do soap operas.
But doesn't young Sam, doesn't he work at the amusement park?
Yeah, he's the
We
assistant.
find out he works at the amusement park. So
Okay.
what we're seeing at the amusement park is as Mike said, everyone is building human pyramids like a cheerleading squad. Everywhere people walk, they're building human pyramids. Like this is what they do for fun at an amusement park.
But you got to watch out for that trio of bullies.
You had these 3 punks, Chopper, Slime, and I don't know what the woman's name was.
I think they were supposed to be in high school, but they were in their late 30s.
Oh my gosh, there's no way. Dirty D was the girl. Dirty D.
Dirty D. So Chopper, Slime, and Dirty D are going around the park knocking everyone's human pyramid over. That's how they're like super stereotypical like 50s greaser bad guys.
And Matt, I knew you would appreciate this because you're a big fan of ADR and dubbing.
Oh,
Everything in this movie is badly dubbed. And it starts right at the beginning with people talking like this. And, completely, there's no environment in their speech at all. It's all in the studio and very obvious.
And everyone's excited because Kiss is performing that night.
Oh, yeah.
So we see the owner of the park walking around with a gentleman named Abner. And I think Calvin was the character who was the owner, and then Abner was the kind of the genius behind one of the movie's most amazing features, all the animatronics.
Played by Anthony Zerbe.
Yes.
And you'd recognize this guy. You've seen him in many movies. And the animatronics, which pop in and out of this movie, are so bad because they are just regular actors
just
pretending to be robots.
They're like mimes.
And they're like the crappiest robots you could ever imagine. Like, they do nothing. You have people playing robots and they're acting like terrible robots.
And it is absolutely painfully obvious that these are people trying to look like animatronics.
It's so bad. And
It's
this
the
is
worst.
so immediately your whole perception of this movie goes down the toilet. Within the first 5 minutes, you're like, what am I watching? We jump ahead to the owner, Calvin, Abner, and there's a head of security in this park who's a player in this movie, whom apparently has the authority of the FBI. So you have this internal security in a park like all places do, and the head of security is ready to arrest people and to start investigations, and it's from the start the character is just overblown and strange. But we're going to go back to Sam. Sam goes to the authorized personnel area only of the park, which has like a Star Trek door that opens.
I think there's even a Star Trek sound effect at some point.
It
in this
was.
thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
they do.
And all of a sudden, and you walk into this kind of badly, over-exaggeratedly lit kind of like mad scientist computer lab with a lot of 1970s, early 80s computers, which means you have big silver boxes with these randomly blinking lights all over
It was
them.
the bridge of the Galactica.
Yeah, it looked like the bridge of the Galactica, exactly. So and you hear all the legitimate little beep and boops of all the computers, so you know that you're in a high-tech area for the 70s. And remember, he works in this lab. This is not like a strange place. He has a job where he's hired and he gets a paycheck, probably health insurance from this place, so he's pretty familiar with this place. And he walks up to a door, which I can only imagine he's familiar with, and he walks inside the door, which has a big orange light. And then Sam is gone. Sam is something mysterious and horrible happened to Sam behind that door. I mean, it was a legitimate horrible scream. Whatever happened to Sam, you can probably be sure he's done at this point. So Sam is gone. He's gone. The lab has destroyed Sam in some regard. And now Melissa is lost looking for Sam.
She's on the hunt.
As a side note, the actress' name is Deborah Ryan, and Deborah Ryan played Melissa. And I have to say, Deborah Ryan gave it her all in this movie. She was actually trying to really act, and she did a pretty good job for the role she was given. She was the only one who was putting up a show in this movie. And I felt so bad because everyone around her was just Just awful. But good for Deborah Ryan if you're listening.
I'm
You
sure
did a
she's
great job.
tuning in.
I like the old
Excellent.
Anthony Zerbe.
Yeah, he had some good moments.
Well,
I mean,
the thing about Anthony Zerbe, he's always Anthony Zerbe.
he's kind of quirky.
He was the bad guy in Star Trek Insurrection.
Yeah, he was
That's
also in the
what.
Matrix.
Yeah, that's what I remembered him from initially. But anyway,
He gets his face all stretched out.
oh yes. But anyway, continuing on.
Yeah. So
We're still an hour from when Kiss shows up, so don't even worry about it.
So we know something's amiss with the doctor, and Sam's missing.
Sam's missing. And now, we jump back to the punks, who are now beating up an animatronic gorilla.
Yes.
Which looks about as convincing as a gorilla you'd see in front of a used car lot driving down the road. But it's a person.
I'm going to paint you this great picture. You have a podium with a person in a really bad gorilla suit up on the podium with his arms chained up.
Oh, gosh, he's just leaning forward and backwards.
And Chopper is on the podium punching him in the stomach for no reason as people walk by. And the other two are laughing as Chopper just keeps punching the ape. And Abner comes up and scolds them after saying, what was the gorilla's name? It was, I can't remember. It had a terrible name. Oh, it was Simon. The gorilla's name was Simon for no reason. And remember, this is a very poignant, focused point in this movie. The gorilla has a name. It's getting beat up. He says, Simon cost me $30,000 in months of research.
Simon is a very delicate creature. It took nearly a year and $30,000 to perfect him.
Come on, perfection? You call some baboon doing a herky-jerky perfection? Hey, lay off.
You feel that Simon is an important character, and you never do see Simon again, just as a footnote.
Also, I just want to say, these three bikers reminded me of the bikers of from Friday the 13th, Part 3. Just
very cartoonish, very caricatures of.
It's like, they're dead. These guys are dead.
So Abner draws them away from Simon the gorilla by offering them free passes to the Chamber of Thrills. Now, I don't know, I guess this amusement park is a pay-as-you-go per ride.
Well, it wasn't Armband Day.
No, apparently you have to pay for everything you go to. So they got free passes for a ride inside the park that they're already in. So that's how they get drawn off. And, of course, they're like, man, old man, we don't need your passes, but we're going to take your passes. And then they take them and go. So this, now remember, we're like 20 minutes in here, and this is still in the park. We haven't left the park. No. We haven't seen Kiss. And this
had
is
a very
the kind
Jaws
of
3 feel to it, I thought.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
A little bit.
So, do you guys remember, all of a sudden, we cut to a scene where people are on like a twirly
this
whirl.
Was very
kind
confusing.
Yeah, so they're on a ride, and all of a sudden they speed up the camera.
It was the octopus.
It was an octopus ride, right, with all the different arms that go up and down. All of a sudden, they crank the speed up to like 5 times the playback speed, and the thing is spinning.
And you know how something is amiss? Because they start looping and people going, hey, what's going on? Hey, this is too fast. Hey.
And people are then screaming. And so you're watching this ride supposedly go out of control.
And you see
what you see next.
3 punks run out of that office. Yes! And you're like, what the heck? I thought they were going to the House of Horrors.
They reappear out of the control room for this ride. So you're assuming, right? You're assuming that the punks have caused this chaos. But no. Abner shows up right as the punks leave, and the owner's like, Abner, what have you done? And Abner's like, I used a new double turbine engine. And so it's the punks just disappear. They appear out of this stupid door.
They run out as if they've done something, like guilty.
Which apparently they've done nothing.
Yeah.
It's just Abner tested out a new motor, which made this ride. Yeah, and then the ride went haywire. So I was so confused.
This is going too fast. Yeah, it was kind of jump cut because you're kind of like, you have that moment of what? I thought they were going somewhere else. It didn't make any sense. But anyway, that leads to a major point in the movie because then Abner gets fired.
But before Abner gets fired, we see him in his mad laboratory, which is under the park. He has to take a special elevator down to his mad lab, and that's where he works. And from then, he gets contacted by Calvin, who says that he needs to speak with him.
Now, we've been together a long time. You know how I feel about you personally, but I have to do what I feel is best.
Best?
Best for whom, Calvin? What about my work? My creation? My future plans? What about me?
So Abner is upset because he feels that his research and development budget for crappy animatronics are being siphoned away to put on a Kiss show. And the owner summarily fires him. After years of joint venture, after years of partnership, these two part ways. Abner, of course, does his amazing pseudo feint where Calvin catches him and then basically says, "You will regret this day." And then it's great. So Abner is fired. Remember, Abner is fired from the amusement park where he works. Next scene, Abner is now walking underneath a roller coaster, which can't be open to the public. He's just walking under the superstructure of this giant wooden roller coaster. And then he's back in his lab in the park. Like, okay, he just got fired, but he's right back
They're gonna
to
let
where
him
his...
they're going to let him clean his desk out.
Apparently, they're going to let him live there because there's no restriction. I don't know where the security is. You fire somebody, there's like, well, it's on the honor system.
Well, if they can't handle 3 punks walking around beating up on animatronic gorillas
and knocking over human pyramids.
Yeah, so Abner winds up back in his lab, and this is where he just puts together his evil mastermind supervillain plan.
I will destroy you, all of you. And you kids, will be my instrument.
Speaking of the 3 punks, we get the very, very extended scene of them in the haunted house. This scene lasts about 10 minutes.
Yes. It's intolerable.
Let's paint a picture of what they're walking in. They step into
it's like a haunted
very,
house.
Very stereotypical haunted house dungeon kind of
Frankenstein, werewolf.
It was actually Frankenstein as played by Chris Farley.
Man,
he was a rather portly.
All the Frankenstein animatronics.
He could barely stand up. He's like
he's doing,
my God.
He's doing a flat-legged sit-up where this guy has his arms out in front of him, and you can see the struggle as he's trying to sit up.
He can't sit
the
up.
guy looks like he's about to puke every time he sits up. He's such a big guy. He can't even sit up right.
He's so ridiculous looking.
And they make him keep doing it over and over. And every time he sits up, his eyes are about to pop out of his head.
And the other animatronic in there that was interesting was the guy just whipping the person over and over again.
Oh, that was that was weird. And the guy was just rocking back and forth while he was being hit.
Yes. So it's just like an open space with all these weird animatronics. They're not like walking through a maze or anything. It's just
it's just a room.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just an open room.
So Chopper's the first to go down. He actually is standing by Chopper goes by the Dracula coffin, and a trapdoor opens underneath him.
And that's where you hear the Star Trek sound of the opening.
You see it's a double thing. You see them coming down feet first at you, and then you see the cut shot of them going away from you, looking back at the camera.
Yeah,
it's really
very
weird.
So Chopper's the first to go. The second is Slime, who backs up unknowingly to the mummy sarcophagus, and the mummy abducts him and then sucks him down the tube. Which, by the way, does nobody knew that there were these trap doors and slides to pull people down? I mean, my God. But anyways, it doesn't matter. Neither here nor there. And what's her name?
Dirty
D. She backs up into an Iron Maiden, and that's it for her.
Yep, she's gone. She's gone.
And then they all go down the same kind of tube and are never seen again in this movie.
No, we see him again.
When do we see him?
They're the 3 robots that are doing the reenacting the American Revolution.
Oh, God. Was that them?
Yeah, that was them.
Oh, I had no idea. Okay, well, I guess there's some redemption in this movie because I was really sad that I didn't see him again.
Well, you missed out.
Oh, man. I have to watch it again.
No, you won't.
No. So these punks are gone, and it's just it just shows that Abner his evil plan is working. And this is finally, after 36 minutes, time for Kiss to appear.
Well, there's still an hour left.
It's time for the big show.
Mike, why don't you walk them through how Kiss is introduced?
Well, it's just the concert, right? The concert starts and they come out and start playing, or they come flying towards the stage. Yeah, that's right.
Well, I think this was the lasers you were talking about.
Yeah, they're
earlier.
flying,
Exactly right.
and Paul Stanley shoots lasers out of his eyes and then walks down those before mentioned lasers. Gene Simmons, Space Ace is flying. They're basically these crappy keys of them coming towards the camera and then going on the stage, and they perform. I can't remember what's the first song they perform live.
I think it's Shout It Out Loud.
Maybe. But, it's... So, I thought, because I went into this movie not knowing anything about this movie or any history of it. I thought that was kind of like an intro, like on the big screen that people are watching before Kiss came out. I didn't realize that they were really supposed to be flying in.
Yeah.
And that this whole thing that this movie was doing was a take off of the Marvel comic books.
Which I actually just read, by the way.
Apparently, in the comic books, Kiss was a band by day, superheroes by night. And this movie was supposed to be about them as superheroes.
Well, you know what? The comic book never says they're a band. They're just 4 guys.
Yeah, well, fantastic.
Are they part of the MCU?
Well, you know who they fight in the first issue that they're in?
Oh.
Dr. Doom.
Okay.
And the Avengers make an appearance, the Defenders, like they had all the heavy hitters in this first
It's
issue.
called the lean years of Marvel. But so the Kiss is supposed to be playing these superheroes from the comics. So I'm like, what am I watching? Because up to this point, I'm not saying it was realistic, but it was within the realm of, okay, I've seen animatronics and the guy's a nut job and he's trying to, take over the world. But all of a sudden you've got these characters coming in with superpowers, which we'll get into further. So they put on their show and, it's the standard kind of Kiss rocking out. And they held a real concert for
it was
Kiss.
free.
Yeah, it's a free concert. They had the legitimate crowd. And that's actually, believe it or not, the best part of the movie is when Kiss is playing real music and you see shots of the crowd. It's the only time that you feel like something is real in the movie.
Yeah, that's true. You can tell those are real fans.
Yeah.
And you're like, they're on shots of girls and you think they're cutting away like 3 seconds before they pull their tops up.
Yep.
Which is probably what they were doing. So we see Abner from his evil lair on the evil lair microphone talking to Sam, who we see is now back in the mix. And Sam is taking pictures of Kiss as they perform, and the pictures he's taking are hilarious because he's got a tiny little Nikon camera from afar with a tiny little lens, and he's taking these big, huge, blown up pictures of their faces as they're performing.
What's funny, what I thought about when they were doing that? I'm like, yeah, because there are no other pictures of Kiss to be found anywhere at this point.
But all is not right with Sam.
No, Sam is not himself.
Something's up.
Yeah, something's amiss. Sam is very much just devoid of any emotion or any kind of humanity at this point.
I think this is where we learn that the Dr. Abner's evil plan was turning real human beings into these animatronic robots.
That's correct. And Sam is now, his task is to take pictures of Kiss, which, as we know, Abner hates Kiss. He blames them for his demise in the park.
Yeah, but he's still, but Abner's never left his job since he's been fired, so I'm not really sure what he's angry about.
So after Sam is done taking his pictures and Kiss are done performing, somehow Sam walks past the security to leave the area as Kiss is walking down their stairs, and Melissa reappears and is crying out to Sam.
Sam, what's wrong, Sam?
Hold it, miss.
Hold it, miss.
Sam?
That's far enough, young lady.
When all of a sudden...
No. I must get through. Please let... I have to find him.
So right off the bat, right here in the movie, all four members of KISS are standing on the stairs at the paparazzi, right? They're all having their pictures taken. And Gene Simmons, who is known as the Demon, I've come to learn. I don't know if that was always his name, but
yeah,
this is what
that was always his name.
I don't know. I'm just done. I hate KISS. But Gene Simmons, in his overmodulated voice, yells, "Star Child!"
And he uses his powers.
This little dot laser.
To freeze the policemen, I guess.
But they don't really freeze, do they?
They stop.
Because they talk to him in the star. Anyways.
But my favorite is he's like, "But you're not here to see. You're not here to find KISS."
No gratitude need be voiced. Your mind speaks to us.
You're looking for someone, but it's not KISS.
Yes.
He was here.
This is ridiculous.
Sam's still in the park.
Anytime Paul opens his mouth is pure Napoleon Dynamite gold in this movie. He sounds to me, just every time he opens his mouth, he sounds like Napoleon Dynamite.
He's clearly from New York.
The worst actor in the history of cinema, TV, vaudeville, ancient Roman plays, anything that you could go back in history. He's the worst actor of all time. So they know something is wrong with Melissa. They know.
They sense it. They're here to help.
They sense it. And KISS is here to help Melissa. And they team up with Melissa.
So I can't remember what happens next. Is this when she goes in the tent with him, which no woman should ever do by herself?
You know what? So what happens is the scene ends saying that they're going to help by seeing them exit the stairs and walk off past camera, okay? Cut forward ahead here to seeing two security guards, which, by the way, one of them is played by Brian James. And if you don't know who Brian James is, you should go watch like The Fifth Element or Enemy Mine, Blade Runner. He's a very, very, and he just passed away not long ago, actually. But if you watch, he's a very recognizable kind of background actor that you've always seen.
Actor.
And he's very young in this, so this must have been one of his first jobs because it's a small role. So anyways, you have these two security guards that are standing randomly somewhere in the park when all of a sudden they hear a noise. And now remember, this is right after we see KISS leaving that area, and they've sworn to help Melissa. A building wall comes down, and here comes Gene Simmons, the Demon.
Did you notice the way he walked, too, whenever he walked? And he's like walking real slow so it doesn't come out. He's got him
He's
clenched.
pinching the cheeks hard. Oh, so now the Demon is breathing fire and roaring like a lion. Now he doesn't roar yet, so he's breathing fire at them, and the two guards call for backup. So 4 security guards come, and this is what, honestly, guys, this is one of my favorite parts of the whole movie. Not this scene, but what happens because of this scene. Gene starts to fight all 4 security guards, and remember, this movie's about KISS and rock and roll, and all of a sudden, the fight scene starts, the most funky 1970s like Chips music starts playing as they're fighting. It's like the funkiest, like, and it's something you've heard in 1,000 different TV shows from the 70s.
Yes.
Like, what is going on?
Yeah, it doesn't fit at all. It's just what?
It's like, I'm like, they should have been playing like rock and roll or something,
or a
like
KISS
that.
song even.
Yeah, and no, they're playing like this real super funky, like out of the like off the shelf kind of like fight action music, and it's so bad. And this is what happens during every fight sequence. The same funky music comes in.
So bad.
It comes in. It's just so it's so funny. So Gene beats all 4 guards and then proceeds to roar at them like a lion.
Is this where he destroys the snack bar?
Yes.
Oh yeah, he just exits through a snack bar, tearing it to pieces. Where he could have just walked around.
Yeah. Well, he's,
Well, he really had to take a dump, so he had to get out of there.
As far as the movie editing goes, this looks like it's directly after the concert and KISS has exited the stage. So you're assuming that this is the demon.
Blowing off some steam after the show.
And I thought he's looking for Sam. I thought that's what he was doing. I thought he was off in the park looking for Sam.
Oh, so you didn't know what he really was?
No, because because literally it was 10 seconds after they exited this.
So you must have been really confused. Like
I was. I'm like, this is 10 minutes after Sam's taking pictures of them. It's literally like 10 minutes. But anyways,
well, they don't show what's his face with the animatronic Gene between those scenes where Gene Simmons is laying on the table and he's lifting his arm up and down.
That's later in the movie, I think.
Oh, okay.
I mean, no surprise, guys. I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag for you listeners. This is an android now, a full-blown android demon who's doing the damage, who can breathe fire and roar like the demon.
I'm pretty sure the real Gene can breathe fire in this movie as well.
He can, but so can the android. So can the android. But anyways.
So is this the swimming pool scene next?
Oh, it's just where best.
And it's got like where they're talking about maybe they're at the pool and he goes, rock stars don't take baths.
The demon is smashed through the snack thing, and your next shot is daytime with the owner Calvin and the head of security of the park, and they're discussing the chaos which had happened the night before. And they're like, well, we've rung the doorbell like 10 times and nobody's here. Maybe they're at the pool.
Rock stars don't take baths.
Yeah. So jump ahead. They walk to the back of this random mansion, which I guess Kiss lives right down the street from the amusement park. And here we see 3 of the 4 members in silver glittery robes sitting in high lifeguard chairs around a pool.
Ahoy, mates. The ownership approaches.
Aye, me bucko with a scurvy crew steaming close behind, and I do mean steaming.
And the 2 walk up to him to blame them for the damage of the park the night before.
I think there's more than 2 of them in there. It's like 3 or 4.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's
yeah, you're right. The 2 security guards that got beat up were there with them. You're right. So 4 of them walk up to him, right?
And this is where you get some of the strangest dialogue you will ever hear. Especially Ace Frehley, who actually has grown on me. I think my favorite part of this whole thing is Ace Frehley.
Is he the one who...
I hate it. And that weird, whatever it is, that noise he makes.
The monkey sound.
I agree with you. Ace is he's so stupid in this movie that you have to love him for what he is, because Paul and Gene are overly serious, and then here you got Ace Frehley, whom if you read up on this movie, showed up to like half the shoots anyway.
Well, apparently him and Peter Criss got really impatient with the wait times between setups.
So not to tangent off from the plot, but I read up on this movie, and apparently when the producers, which by the way, who produced the movie, Mike?
Hanna-Barbera.
Oh yeah.
Hanna-Barbera produced this movie. When they were interviewing all 4 members of Kiss, trying to basically design their parts for the movie, all Ace did in the interview was make ridiculous noises.
Yeah, he wouldn't even talk to them. Sounds.
Yeah, that's all he did was make these ridiculous monkey sounds. So they figured this is his shtick. We're gonna write him no lines and just make him have like weird noises and make him that super likable, friendly, almost like a savant kind of character that is like a real ass kicker per se. And then Ace read the script. He got so insulted he had no lines that they had to write him lines.
Yeah. And then he hated the lines they gave him. What's funny is in the comic book he calls everyone Curly.
Oh, is that what that joke is?
So yeah, and for some reason he refers to everyone as Curly. So there's a
so
lot of carryover from the comic books.
So you have some really, really poor dialogue with the 3 members of Kiss, Paul, Ace, and Peter Criss with this group of people.
There's that weird line where they're like, was it someone who looked like Gene? And Peter Criss goes, Gene's brother was an only child.
Yeah, that was... Oh.
It makes no sense. So all of a sudden, here comes Gene Simmons walking up.
With his gait that he has.
Yeah, with his gorilla, it's holding in a turd gait.
So you see this walk of the demon walk up. And he does like, from like the behind, they show him walking, and they stay with him till he hits the corner of the pool, and then they pick up the shot at the corner of the pool and let him come all the way forward. And it takes like 45 seconds for him to walk, and they stick with him for like some ridiculous tracking shot for no reason.
Yeah.
And then Gene climbs up on his lifeguard stand, and and talks to them, or roars. I don't know what he does.
And then the guards slink off to have a conversation because the owner's concern is if they arrest Kiss, they won't be able to perform, and Kiss has brought a lot of customers. And that's when Paul Stanley does his
he uses
his star vision.
His star vision.
Inclined to believe you and the boys, but this group brings in $200,000 a show. Let them finish at the park tonight, then you can launch a full-scale investigation, and I won't interfere.
He's convinced you did it, but the investigation's a stroke. He just wants the guy off his back.
And they're like two inches away from each other while they're speaking.
We kind of explain that. Explain what we're seeing here.
Well, it's like both of these actors needed to be inside of basically a star wipe.
In a 4-3.
In a 4-3.
They're supposed to be across from them on the other side of the pool.
Yes, but because of the framing and the way the shot has to happen to make it work with the Star Child vision, the guys look like they're about to kiss each other. I mean, their faces are so close together, like unnaturally close, but all because so they can fit inside of this like ridiculous star wipe effect.
And then Paul Stanley has those great lines where they're sweating. They're just sweating.
He's sweating the possibility that we might pull out. He's just plain sweating.
Yeah. No, they're just plain sweating. That's what he says.
Man,
it's just so bad. So then we jump forward. What happens next?
Does it really matter?
Oh, what's her face? Melissa shows up. Melissa comes.
Yes, she does.
After they leave, the security people leave.
Yeah.
And she's asking for help.
She's asking for help, and they take her in to their home to show them the most secret, special thing about Kiss.
Oh, boy.
This is from the comic as well. This is straight from the comic.
Unreal. I'd heard about your talisman, but I didn't think they really existed. What's that humming noise?
Beethoven's Fifth.
It's a cosmic force field which protects our talisman.
Pretty mystical. And if you didn't have them?
Without them, no powers.
We're just ordinary human beings.
The secret talismans with the shape of the dumb symbols on their face.
Yes.
This is the key to their power. As they tell her, without the talismans, they're just ordinary people. And, you know what? I did I skipped because Melissa had gone into Abner's sublayer to find Sam. And Abner swore to help and gave her a free pass around the park, which is a name tag.
And it's a bug.
And the name tag has like a camera on it. So, of course, Abner is now seeing all of this and understands the talisman are the key to Kiss's power. So now he knows how to defeat Kiss.
Dun, dun, dun.
So what happens now is, remember, Melissa's still there. And then they go outside to listen to
Peter Criss sing Beth.
Which is a very tender moment.
Which is funny because they're just sitting there and Peter Criss is just singing. And they're all just sitting there. Like, no one's playing any instruments.
And it's the only time, by the way, that you hear the real Peter Criss's voice in the entire movie is when he sings Beth.
Because he is dubbed by Michael Bell, who you will have heard many times on any number of animated cartoons. He was Duke in G.I. Joe. He was part of the Transformers. He's done everything.
He was a couple of the Smurfs.
Smurfs, yeah. You've definitely heard him.
Yeah, because originally the rumor was that Peter Criss's accent was so thick that no one could understand him. But apparently he just never showed up for the looping.
Yeah, that's what I had seen.
So you just get a really bad ADR
yes.
with him. But anyway, so they're outside singing Beth. And now this is when Sam reappears. Sam has orders from Abner to get the talisman. So Sam somehow finds the talisman in its very obvious place and tries to
There's a force field around them. Now, they did explain that there's a force field around this box.
That's true. You're right. There's a force field protecting the box, and Sam kind of gets zapped by it. And I think it scrambles the android programming in Sam, and he just kind of he exits the back door right where they're singing, actually, and walks kind of right past the group, which Melissa loses her mind over. And then for some reason, the demon roars. And that's the end of that scene.
It wasn't Sam! It wasn't Sam! But it looked so much like him. And then when I touched him...
What exactly did he say?
He didn't say anything.
And then Sam goes back to the sublayer where Abner now gives him the worst gun prop I've ever seen. It wasn't even trying. It's almost like,
oh yeah,
it's almost like the prop department's like, yeah, got no budget.
It's like a hairdryer thing almost.
So he's supposed to zap the talisman with this, and it's going to disable the force field or render them useless. And Sam is on a new mission then to zap the talisman with his hairdryer.
Now, is this when Kiss decide to go after the doctor?
Not yet, because they still have to... Well, maybe it is. When do they perform next? Do they perform...
They don't perform again until the end, I don't think.
Really? But either way, they launch on a mission to go get Abner.
Who would rip off our talisman?
Someone who wants power. Who wants to deny us ours.
If they fall into the wrong hands.
There are no right hands except ours. We must protect the power.
The power you protect cannot rival the power I command.
Sam, the talisman, they all add up to the park.
Especially what Melissa said about that Abner cat.
But are you sure they'll be safe here?
They always have been, thanks to the force field.
Well, what are we waiting for?
Very well then, come ahead, Kiss. I may be outnumbered, but I am not outmanned.
And so they go back into the park and have to battle Abner's animatronic army.
First up, the little white-haired monkey dudes.
Yes.
So Kiss has some really... Oh, okay. So Kiss goes to the park, and Ace Frehley is the first to do it. Or was it Peter Criss?
Well, Ace can do the thing where he can teleport him. He does the thing with his thumb. Did he do that?
It's funny because I think it was Ace. It wasn't Peter. Maybe it was Peter. It was one of the two. Either Ace or Peter goes up to the side of the fence, hunches down, and he's
it's
obviously
Ace.
on wires.
Yeah.
And they lift him up, and he
Ace
looks
does
so
it.
uncomfortable in these wires. And they lift him over the fence and then carefully drop him down. And it's supposed to look very fluid, and it looks like he's on wires dangling for his life. Like the harness is really uncomfortable, and you can kind of see it. And then all the others just kind of jump over.
Off camera.
Off camera. They just kind of like land. That's what you see.
They spent their budget on hoisting Ace Frehley over it.
Exactly. So they have to decide which way to go, and they all go straight in the middle underneath the roller coaster superstructure again, and that's where they encounter a whole handful of these white, hairy ape animatronic things.
I have to say, I was actually kind of impressed with the way they were up on that roller coaster structure, because I was like... And then when they were fighting, I think like they were actually hitting it, and I'm like thinking, are they damaging that thing for this movie?
Well, I will say that the stuntmen, you think with, the Kiss being covered in makeup, it'd be kind of tough to tell apart the stuntmen from the actual band members, but it isn't at all. Somehow...
Especially when one of them is a different race.
It's just...
Ace Frehley just didn't show up to some of these scenes, so they wound up using his stunt double, who's painted up like him, and his stunt double was African American, and it's very obvious that that's his stunt double. And he's real. And the funny thing is, they make no bones about showing him pretty close up on like a good medium torso shot. You can see that it is not Ace Frehley all of a sudden.
And the guy playing Peter Criss, his stunt double has a terrible wig. I mean, you could just clearly see anytime it's him. By the way, but what happens next? We have a series of Kiss fights against the monkey dudes, some samurai. That's when Ace Frehley uses his power when the sumo wrestler and the samurai charge. He does that thing with his thumb, and then they disappear. Then they go into the haunted house. Then there's an extended fight scene.
Yes, back in the haunted house.
Yeah, because we didn't get enough of that the first time.
And this entire time, you're hearing sporadic one-liners from all of them.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, anytime anybody opens their mouth, it's pure gold, actually, because it's so bad. You're like, this is just amazingly bad. But it's great. Listening to it now, you can't take any of it serious. It's so bad that they did take it serious. And that's the problem, is that you watch this and you're like, man, they thought they were making something really special here.
It's a can't miss. How can we screw this up?
But to Mike's point, they did land in the Chamber of Thrills.
Yeah,
again,
Chamber of Horrors.
Yeah,
no, I think they called it Thrills.
Oh, okay.
But this time they went into full-blown battle mode with every animatronic in there. But the kicker here is that Abner now has the talisman because Sam got them. Sam used the hairdryer and got the talismans and brought them to Abner. And Abner's watching on a very acute camera that's just capturing all the action in the Chamber of Thrills. And he is shooting each talisman as an animatronic attacks one of them. And he is rendering that KISS member powerless as the animatronic attacks. And it really doesn't have any effect because you still don't know who's winning.
How does he capture him? I don't even remember how he captures them.
He captures them by backing them into a corner and lowering from the ceiling some kind of like vacuum tubes, which suck them up into the ceiling.
Like Jawas.
Remember? Just like Jawas. It's just like they got C-3PO and R2-D2 and sucked them up.
They're like little squares in the ceiling they got sucked into.
Yeah, so they all got sucked up, and that's how Abner imprisons them in his laser prison.
And then he tells them his plan.
Yeah, he just like any good bad guy tells KISS they're done.
And his plan is to have the androids play the concert, but he's gonna get the androids to get the crowd riled up to destroy the park.
He's trying to get some anarchy going in the crowd and whip them up into a frenzy and destroy the park by playing a song. And
it's a good thing that he doesn't have access to behind the scenes or restricted areas where he could actually do some damage. And then he decides to go with this plan instead. It seems to make a lot of sense.
Well,
so we see the animatronic KISS on stage singing "Rip and Destroy."
Yeah, it's like an alternate version of one of their songs. Apparently, this is the one song they actually did not perform for the audience.
So by singing "Rip and Destroy" for 2 minutes, the entire crowd is ready to kill people.
But what's funny is at first when they're singing, the crowd is turning against them. So they cut to these crowd shots and you hear people going, "Get off the stage! You're terrible!"
Exactly, they're booing them. All of a sudden, then the crowd is whipped up into a frenzy to kill. Meanwhile, in the laser prison underneath the earth, KISS combined to use their powers to suck the talisman box, which is about 20 feet in front of them.
Yeah, they work together to get the string to levitate the box and bring it to them.
Yeah, exactly. The box is kind of like dangling on the string back and forth. It's not even remotely close to being good. And they get their talisman, and then they all kind of like touch each other and join hands or touch waists or something like that. I don't know what they do, but they're all like staring at the talisman as Gene slowly opens the box. And then, of course, by opening the box, which they never had to have the box open before. Remember, they could go anywhere and they still have their powers, but now they have to have the box in their hands.
That doesn't make sense, does it?
No. So now they have their superpowers back. And KISS makes another dramatic entrance to the stage as they did before.
And it's Battle Royale on the stage. KISS versus KISS.
Versus their not convincing stunt doubles.
Yes, and KISS prevails. Yeah, good for them.
And they perform a song.
And they perform, I think, the same song that they did earlier. I'm not sure.
What happened to Anthony Zerbe?
Oh, we find that out after the song.
So KISS plays out the concert, and then cut scene, they're all underground. Melissa's underground having a conversation with Abner, who's at his desk. We don't see Abner.
Give him back!
And the owner, Calvin, is there, and then, of course, the members of KISS. And then Calvin says something like, "He can't hear you now." And pan the camera to Abner, and they put a light on.
Oh, that's right.
What a waste. Brilliant man. True genius.
Yep. Or misdirected.
created Kiss to destroy Kiss, and he lost.
What happened to him?
I don't know. His hair was all white, and he was just staring off into space. I don't know what happened.
All of a sudden, Abner, who's by the way very thin
catatonic.
on top, very thin on top in the hair, all of a sudden has a lot of white hair on top. His eyebrows have grown tremendously, and they're all white. And he's all pale, and he look. I don't know what he's just like a frozen dude. All of a sudden, it's almost like in The Last Crusade where the guy drank the wrong water.
Yes.
He
Oh,
chose
that's
poorly.
true.
Only nothing happened to him. He just turned into like a moderately like hairy homeless person. And he's apparently, is he dead? Is Abner dead? I don't know. Is he dead?
No, I thought he was just like catatonic. I thought he just blown his brain
He just
somehow.
got a lot of hair all of a sudden, and it turned real white with bushy
happens.
eyebrows.
That's a medical fact. If you fall into a catatonic state,
That's
your
true.
hair suddenly just goes into like this large growth spurt for no reason.
And they find Sam, and luckily, Starchild is there to help.
Yeah.
He walks up to Sam and realizes that beneath the collar of his shirt is a diode stuck to his neck. And he just plucks it off his neck, and all of a sudden Sam is back. And Sam is himself again. And I'm guessing that it was just this little tiny diode controlling Sam the entire time. So what was so horrific that happened to Sam in the beginning?
Well,
what did he see that was so terrible?
maybe he saw Chris Farley as Frankenstein.
But Sam is back and Melissa's happy, and that's how the movie ends. And then they do an outro with Kiss playing something else and with some credits going on behind it.
Yeah.
And it might not sound it to you because I know we really talked it up, but that was the worst movie I think I've ever seen. Ever.
Well, it certainly wasn't good.
It made Zardoz look like 2001.
I don't know. I think I'd watch this over Zardoz because Zardoz is boring. I think this movie is just so strange. And plus, it's like a moment in time as far as our culture.
So this movie had a slightly extended cut released in Europe, which we didn't watch, and I'm not.
And apparently, they replaced that crappy music with actual rock music. Like it's got a better soundtrack, apparently.
Which would make sense, but I'm glad I saw it in its pure form, pure stinking.
And apparently, form. Paul Stanley uses his star vision to free Sam, as opposed to just plucking the thing off with his fingers.
That might make more sense. But this movie has developed a bit of a cult following. I don't get the Kiss thing, and this movie made me not want to like them even more. But, you know, a funny thing about this movie is they screened it for Kiss, and people applauded it in the room except Kiss. And Kiss were furious at this movie. Because, to be fair, Kiss was, as Mike said, a superstar band. They were a phenomenon. They were really on top of the fame world when this movie was made. And they were sold a bit of a bill of goods which wasn't delivered. And when this movie came out, they kind of realized, like the rest of us, what a piece of garbage it was.
Well, if there was anything Kiss was very good at doing, was marketing themselves.
Yes.
Right. So that had to be like a marketing nightmare.
And remember, this was released on network television. This was a big, big event. And after this movie was released, if you worked on Kiss's crew, if you were part of Kiss's merchandising team, if you were part of the record label, you weren't allowed to mention this movie in their presence ever. And for years, they refused to talk about this movie. They refused to acknowledge its existence. They just didn't want anything to do with this movie. And rightly so. Kiss, you should hate this movie. This is it was one of the worst things I've ever sat through.
There's not really been very many official releases. My roommate had the Laserdisc. He bought the Laserdisc on clearance when
he was the one.
Laserdiscs were going down, and I'm sure he sold it, and he probably shouldn't have because that Laserdisc is worth some bucks now.
Well, you can buy the DVD on Amazon right now for $100.
God.
And Kiss did finally release a version of it on one of their box sets, but it was like heavily edited, and apparently they cut a lot of Ace Frehley's lines out, which, you know, you're losing the magic when you do that.
Oh. Ace. But like I said in the beginning, guys, we fell on that sword for you, so you don't have to. So don't go out and see this movie. And I think we should grade it. Let's give it a grade. Man. Jared, what do you want to give it?
It gave me some entertainment. There's entertainment value to be had in its crappiness. I'm not going to fail it. I'm going to say I'm going to give it a strong D.
Uh-huh. Mike?
Yeah, see, unlike Zardoz, I didn't feel like a bad person after watching this. I think it's fun. I mean, it's like it's slow at first, but once Kiss show up, it's just so crazy. I mean, I could watch it again. I would not anytime soon. I mean, it's gonna have to be a while, but it's bad. I'm not in any form or fashion saying this is a good movie. It's a bad movie, so It's hard. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna go like with Jared. I'm gonna give it like a D+.
Okay, so you're selling me on the entertainment value because I do appreciate when things are so bad. They're. I
mean, you couldn't make a movie like this on purpose.
Yes.
Like,
I'm going to reserve, even though I really want to give it an F. I have to believe there are worse things out there that have no entertainment value. So I'm going to give this the lowest D- I can give anything. This thing is basically just an F with a bow on top. So I'm going to give it a D-. But once again, here on the Hyperspace, we appreciate you listening. I hope you never watch this movie. Don't ever watch this movie. Avoid at all costs.
Well, I'd just like to add to that in closing.
Thanks for listening, everybody. As always, it's a bumpy road in our minds and what we bring to the table, but we appreciate you listening, and we'll get you next time.
You know you can't live without this content, so subscribe to the Hyperspace Podcasting in the 25th Century. Follow us on social media, leave us a review, and join us next time as we take you into the 25th century.
She wants a rocket ride.